Alright, welcome back to Flight Sim 2020, and today, the third episode of our Australia to South Africa tour in the A2A Comanche. You join me inside our aircraft, which isn't normal. Normally we start off with a nice external view, but today we're starting off inside the plane, and for very good reason. As you can see, today is most definitely going to be an IFR day. So we're on the ground at Gingin, something like that, where we obviously landed in episode 2. And, well, the weather's not been great for the last couple of days. So I think what we're going to do now at this point is just try and make it out of here, IFR. So obviously Gingin is just north of Perth. We're going to head not quite along the coast. We're starting to head inland a bit. And I want to try and get to Mikatara. I think that's how you say it, Mikatara. So that's where we want to get there today. Now, it feels like the weather's kind of moving in the same direction. So we might actually be in the thick of this all the way along, which is not ideal, but we do kind of need to get moving. So I think it sounds like the rain's actually getting harder. I think we're going to see if we can put our IFR skills to test and make it out of Gingin and head north. So looking at the weather, it seems like we should be able to get on top of the clouds. So we'll see. And our aircraft is starting to mist up as we're sitting on the ground here. Let's get our tablet out and see kind of what we're dealing with in terms of the conditions. So it's not super windy. Oh, that is quite, 15 knots. So the METAR is saying 10. So it's a little bit more windy than what is reported, but that's not too bad to deal with. Heavy rain, definitely. QNH 1013, actually. So let's just set that. And we're at 21 degrees at the moment, but we need to get some air moving in here to clear that kind of windshield fogging up. So because we've been waiting for the weather, it has been a while since I've run the Comanche. So I think, let me stop talking. We're going to have to do a walk around in this weather, which is going to be plenty of fun. So I've released that. Let's go ahead and do our walk around quickly, I guess. So we'll come here. And let's just put the flaps down. Okay, that moves nice and smoothly. No weird noises, no sticking. Same thing there. It's also not difficult to hear what's going on because of the rain. I don't actually have any idea how much fuel is in here. Okay, so there's a little bit in there, but that just looks like it's almost empty. So I don't think we're going to be using the tip tanks at all today. We'll check the main tanks. We might actually have to fuel up. It is raining. Are we going to get some water in our fuel? Doesn't seem like it. Okay, lights, we are fine. We can take our tie downs. So let's see. I wonder if this is going to let rain into the fuel. That looks pretty full, kind of. Yeah, not too bad. I wish they'd kind of give you, like the A2A aircraft had in other sims, like a dipstick kind of thing, so you could actually sort of tell how much fuel is in the tanks when you do these checks. Because now I can just kind of see there's fuel in there, but that's about all we get. Okay, our beautiful beaten up Outback Cherokee. Shame, he must be having a bad day. Can barely even see. I don't think it's like super dark, so we should be all right. Right, is there more or less fuel in this side? kind of about the same, probably. So I think we might actually be okay. We probably don't have to fuel up. It's about a 2-hour flight if we can make it all the way to Mikatara. And I'm expecting this to just have that kind of little bit that we left in there, yeah. And I'm not seeing like there's any water in there, so I'm not sure exactly what it is then that causes water to get into the tanks. Nothing there. Make sure we get rid of that. Test this guy. Looks good. And nothing blocking that. We still have our baggage in here, I think. Yes, we do. So that's cool. Right. So next, I guess, we just need to get it fired up. The wind is coming from in front of us, so we're going to be taking over runway 08. Is that 08? Yes. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way for now. Right, so beacon is on. We can then turn on the master. And maybe we should just go through the checklist. So pre-flight we've done. We don't have any passenger seatbelt secured. Control locks removed. Parking brake is set. Yes, it is. Gear switch down. Checked. Flaps up. Rain seems to be slowing down a bit, actually. Radio's off. That's all fine. That's also off. Autopilot master off and avionics off. And then all electrical switches off. Circuit breakers. Oh, I'm looking down there. That's the PC-12. They are over here. They all look fine. And rotating beacon is on. So engine start, fuel selector. Let's go over to the left-hand tank. This is showing about half. That should be enough fuel. I actually do kind of want to run this fuel as far as we can to get an idea of how far we can actually fly. So I think I'm not going to fill up, and we'll see. If we have to divert, it's also not the end of the world. There's a couple of airports along the way that we can go to. So I think I'm going to leave the fuel as is. We'll have to fill up at wherever we end up after this flight, though. Okay, mixture. That's the prop full forward, and mixture full rich. Throttle cracked a bit. Carb heat off. Right, master switch is on. Fuel pump. Can't even hear it. But we are getting fuel pressure. And then primer. So I think we'll do 4, just because it's been a while since we flew the aircraft. Right, mags to both. Okay, prop area is clear. I don't think there's going to be anyone walking around out there except for that dude. There's nothing we can really do about that. So, let's go ahead and see if she will fire up. That does not look good at all. And that's probably our battery that's struggling. Okay, there we go. And check that that's charging, which it looks like it is. Right, might as well. We don't have taxi lights, so I'm going to do landing lights for our taxi out. And then we need to get some air moving in here. So the vents are open. Defroster. Is that going to start defrosting the windows? I think that makes the temperature go up, actually. It's not showing any change. We'll see if... see, that's the lights now that we're seeing. There's still a little bit on there. We'll see if that starts lessening, which it looks like it might actually... Yeah, I think it is. Okay, prime is locked. We can now turn on the avionics. We need to check... Oh, I'm pointing there. We need to check our GPS, because I did program the route beforehand. Right, I don't need to reset anything here because we haven't taken on fuel. Check that the ammeter, so that the battery is charging, so that's checked. And actually I'm going to switch tanks because there's more fuel on this side according to this gauge. Right, this can go to map. We can now turn on all of our avionics. Okay, heading indicator we'll set once we're on the runway. Let's just see. So we're at 5, and here we're nowhere near 5. Something like that. I don't actually use the heading. I prefer to use the course needle to indicate the runway heading. So we'll do that for now. We tweak that once we get onto the runway. Right, we don't need any of that. Cool. Altimeter is set 1013. The rain is actually slowing down nicely, so that's cool. Heading indicator, mind you, we might need to use the autopilot in heading mode on takeoff, so we'll actually set that as well. Anyway, landing gear, green lights, checked. Nav lights are on, parking brake, release, and test the brakes. Right, so we are going to taxi out. So we're going to turn left down here and taxi down for runway 08. And somewhere along there we'll do our run-up as well. Okay, everything looks clear. Release the brakes. Check the brakes, or release the parking brake and test the brakes. That's all good. This is very IFR. Maybe the visibility now is actually pretty shocking. At least it doesn't seem to be like stupid windy. Okay, I actually want to continue down here. So that goes onto the runway. So we're going to carry on down this taxiway. Like so. Okay, so we're going to have a pretty decent crosswind from the right on takeoff. Windows are not listed up anymore, so that's good. Okay, So Gingin has one departure, which is very simple. So we're departing runway H, so heading of 076. It's straight ahead, and then at or above 700 feet, we turn to our required heading. Then it says, not before DER. Don't actually know what that means. So basically, yeah, I'm not sure what the not before DER means. But, yeah, 700 feet we will turn. Onto our heading. So basically it's all programmed into our GPS. There we go. We're going to be turning out to the left. You can probably pretty much go straight onto our GPS nav after departure. Okay, so next we're going to do our run-up. It's weird that the run-ups are kind of past the holding point, which is a bit strange. Although the run-up areas, I mean. Okay, so parking brake is on. Fuel selected to the desired tank mixture, and prop is set, so we're going to go up to 2,000. Let that kind of stabilize. Right, make sure that everything's in the green. That all looks good. Battery's charging, green. That's in the green, that's in the green. Cool, magnetos. So we want less than 125. Oh, that's not good. We have a jump in RPM there. I wonder if it's just kind of warming up a bit as well. The temperature's pretty high outside. I mean, 21 degrees. So that's less than 125. So is that. And the difference between the two is exactly 50. So we're kind of right on the limit there. Okay, come back to 1800. Everything nice and stable, all still in the green. That's good. We've got an endurance of about 3 hours at this power setting. So that's plenty. Let's just do our prop cycle. Okay, carb heat check. Get the RPM drop. Okay, before takeoff, controls are all good. Elevator trim to neutral. Check. Where was I? Rudder trim, neutral, doors, latch, flaps. We're not going to do flaps for takeoff. Fuel selector on the fullest tank. Mixture rich, prop full forward, carb heat off, engine gauges all in the green. Pitot heat. We probably don't need the pitot heat. Maybe we should actually just keep it on, except that's the strobe lights. Genius. Where's the pitot heat? Oh, it is already on. Okay. We might as well turn on the strobe lights while we're here. Landing lights are already on. Takeoff. Aren't we supposed to turn on the fuel pump? Yes, we are. Right, throttle full open. Check airspeed. Positive rate. Gear up, so we're rotating at 85. Let's put that away. Emergency landing area is going to be interesting in this visibility. Maybe this actually isn't even legal taking off in this visibility. In fact, it probably isn't. So how would we ever find a place to land? Wow, the visibility is terrible. I'm not even sure where the middle of the runway is. Okay, so once again, in reality, we would be waiting. But in terms of recording this video, I kind of need to do this today. Okay, bit of a crosswind from the right. Alright, here we go. Very much a crosswind from the right. Okay, let's go gear up. Okay, just keep us climbing and try and keep that heading a little bit more accurately. Speed's coming up nicely, so we can actually climb a bit faster. Climb out at about 105. Okay, now I'm just trying to get onto that GPS course instead of following the heading that we chose. Right, and I think what I'm going to do now is let's get the autopilot in to kind of take some of the workload from us. Okay, so that should have it on the GPS course. Okay, I'm going to bring the power back to 24. And then bring the prop back as well to 2400. Climbing through 3,000 feet now. We're going to go to 6,000 feet. Okay, that's pretty intense. You can see we're in the red here. What does it look like where we're going? Not great. It's kind of raining all over this part of Australia. Right, then I'm going to bring the mixture back. Kind of until it starts running a bit rough. Like that. Then we can just feed a bit more in. Okay, check that we're on our GPS course. That looks good. We're going to be in this red for quite a bit. At least it's not like super turbulent. So it could be worse in terms of that. I'm just going to put some mixture back in, bring that cylinder head temperature down. Okay, we're climbing, speed's fine. We've got a little bit of margin above our 105, but that keeps kind of drifting as we pushing through the wind here. That's 5,500 feet coming up, so we're going to level off shortly. Rain is at least starting to slow down. Maybe we should actually go higher. See if we can do 8,000, get out of the rain. I think we should try that. Okay, is the plane going to turn to follow our GPS course? No, it's not, because this is incorrect. Yeah, we'll go up to 8,000. We're now starting to get out of the rain nicely. Makes things a bit quieter. Okay, this wants us to do 57. So that's 55, so 57 is about there. Okay, 7,500 feet. Starting to actually come out of the clouds. And the fact that it's not like super turbulent here, I'm actually not too stressed about staying in the clouds. I think we might actually climb higher than 8,000. Maybe we can just sit on top of the clouds. This is a little bit bumpy here. There's still a bit of rain, which is getting worse now. Yeah, we're starting to see out. Yeah, let's keep going up. $10,000. Okay, let's see if we'll intercept the GPS course now that we're on GPS. Should start turning a bit to the right, probably about now. Okay, coming up to 8,000. What is the purple? Is that turbulence? Because then we're kind of just skirting around the edge of that. Stop raining. And we're kind of feels like we're just on the edge of the clouds, maybe? Or is it actually just thicker here? We're probably gonna break out like just at 10,000 feet. Our GPS, our autopilot does not seem to want to follow the GPS. Doing it now? Not really. But it could also just be the wind that's throwing us off, because look, it feels like it's turning a little bit to the right. Yeah, okay, I think it's fine. Okay, coming up to 9,000 feet. Once we level off, I actually just want to check out the weather for the airports along the way, as well as our destination, because I'm worried that this weather is kind of heading in the same direction as us, and that we might have, I always get these the wrong way around, we might have problems getting in. So that's about as far as we can see, but it seems to kind of stop there, and I think it's moving up this way out towards where we're trying to go. So that MOG, that's where our main alternate is as well. So currently it looks like we might be fine in terms of weather. Okay, so now we just need to level out here at 10,000 feet. Okay, just adjusting some mixture there. We can actually give it a bit more power than that. Just want to keep that fuel flow down. So we'll see our endurance now is rated at about 2 hours, just under 2 hours 40. So we should be fine. Okay, autopilot is happy. We're at 10,000 feet. Might as well, I probably should have turned the fuel pump off earlier. And we can turn off the landing lights now as well. Wow, even some rain up here at 10,000. Okay, that was the trim, so it wants us to trim down. Okay, if we come back to look at our weather, definitely seems the worst band is kind of over here, and this is all getting better. So once we're through there, we might actually be fine to even go visual from that point. Wow, look at that. luckily, nice early morning here. It's not super turbulent. I mean, we are bouncing around a little bit, but it could be a lot worse. Right, now we kind of just settle in for a bit of an IFR cruise. And keep an eye on the weather, keep an eye on our autopilot, trim, fuel consumption, and fuel tanks. What I definitely am going to need is the heater, because if we look here, it's only 9 degrees. Oh wow. So the defroster, I wonder if I turn that off, are we gonna get fogged up windows again? But we'll turn on the cabin heating. Let's see if we can at least get that temperature to something decent. We can probably plug in our headphones and have a bit less noise, which I could have done long ago. If I close these, yes, our temperature goes up a lot more. I'm interested to see if our windows start fogging up. At that temperature, because outside is showing 8 degrees, we're going to be careful of icing up here as well. Is that ice on the end of that, or is that just the paint that's bad? I think that that's just the paint. I don't think that's ice. Because also we should be getting icing more like there, and we should see it on the windshield as well. So I think that's just the paint. There's nothing there indicating any kind of icing. Pitot heat is on. We have no sort of anti-icing in this aircraft, so any kind of icing indication we need to descend without any hesitation, but that's just the paintwork. So I think we're good. Okay, temperature is coming up still nice and quick. 16 degrees, which is cold. So I want to get that around 22, 23-ish. It's probably pretty comfortable. Right, ground speed 151. And it's saying it's going to take us bang on 2 hours from now to get to Mikitara. We can probably actually push our manifold pressure up a little bit, get it a little bit more speed. I mean, that's full throttle now, but we also, I've backed off the propeller quite a bit, and obviously the mixture as well, to bring our fuel consumption down. We're now saying endurance of 2.5 hours, so basically half an hour of reserve. Cylinder head temperatures are fine. Cylinder 5 is the highest. Cabin temperature is coming up nicely. Some pretty clouds out the window. I'm actually surprised at how little turbulence there is where we are right now. I mean, we're bobbing up and down a bit, but it could have been way worse. Okay, we're at 22 degrees now, so if we kind of back this off a little bit, we should be able to keep the temperature around there, which is nice and comfortable. Alright, ground speed up to 154 knots. Fuel is looking good, so I think we'll run this tank down to that dot and then switch over to our left-hand tank. I know you're supposed to do it by time. So we've actually had the engine running now for half an hour. Doesn't feel that long, actually. Otherwise, all gauges look good. Engine's running nice and smoothly. And just looking at the GPS, we're kind of coming out of the red stuff in just a bit. There's a couple more patches up here, but we might even be out into the clear for a short while. No icing, at least. I think it's still where we are now. Just warm enough to not have to worry about that. So we're about just under 10 degrees, so 8-9 degrees. If that was starting to get around like below 5, and I would really start worrying about icing, because there's definitely plenty of moisture in the air. We're good for now. So the weather looks like we might be fine. We'll keep an eye on this as well, because as we get closer to our destination, we'll be able to kind of see a bit further. We're going to have to change to 9,000 as we turn here and start heading east. In fact, we're already heading a bit east, so we should have been on an odd number already. Okay, let's fix that, because that's kind of bad. Oh wow, we can actually see the ground down there. Check at that. Kind of left the throttle where it is, so we're picking up a decent amount of speed. Why are we turning so much? Okay, just to stay on our course. Right, let's engage the altitude hold. We're now at 9,000 feet, which is better for the direction that we're heading in. Come down here, and we now want to be on 021. So that is about... there. Obviously, we're not really going to be flying that heading because of the wind. It is still quite windy out there, so the autopilot will be compensating for that quite a bit. Just tweaking our mixture. Oh wow, so the wind appears to be a bit worse here at 9,000 feet because we've gone from a ground speed of 150-ish to 137. I think we were about 154 last time we checked. Okay, we also did turn, so we're probably descended into a bit more wind, but we're also facing into more into the wind now after we made that left-hand turn. Because yeah, that's almost 20 knot difference. That's picking up a little bit now, about up to 140 again. Okay, everything is in the green. What does our endurance say? 2 hours 19 minutes, and we're just under 2 hours to get to our destination. Okay, that MOG beacon I was talking about earlier, which is there, it's actually part of our route. That is Mount Magnet, so that's going to be our main alternate for today. If the weather was too bad, I was gonna stop there, but the weather's looking okay for Mikatara. Mount Magnet does not actually have oh, it has an RNAV approach. So RNAV approaches for runway 16. Okay, so we could do the RNAV approach into Mount Magnet if needed. When it comes to Mikatara, I think does it have an ILS? I don't think it has an ILS. It's also RNAV. RNAV for runway 9 and runway 27. Okay, weather reported at Mikatara. We actually don't have a METAR. Brilliant. Oh, they've got a VOR approach. Okay, so runway 9 has an RNAV approach, it has a VOR approach, and then 27 has RNAV, VOR, and an NDB approach. It's a pity you don't really know what the weather's doing around there, and there's no stations close enough that it can kind of just use that METAR as a fairly close approximation. Wow, ground speed is dropping again. And our time to destination has gone back to 2 hours. Okay, it looks like we're going to be heading into the rain again in a bit. So we've got another patch of red to get through there. Wonder if we should kind of deviate around that. I think we should probably do that. Okay, before we do that, let's just double check our headings. So there, we're pretty much bang on 20. And here, we're not. So we actually are pretty accurately following our course line now, which is cool. But I think, just looking at that, maybe we should just divert around this red patch. It's not going to add a massive amount. Maybe we should go this way, actually. No, we'll do that. So let's just flip this to heading mode. Our heading is already dialed about 20 degrees to our right. Just kind of go around that red patch. It does mean that once we pass the red, I'm just going to have to update the route because we're not actually going to get to that waypoint because it's smack bang in the middle of that patch of weather. But in any case, we're going to be going back into the clouds for sure. So we had a little bit of an open patch where we can see the ground nicely. And some rain over there you can see. And I think we might be heading into a bit of rain here as well. But definitely into the clouds again. Our Navigraph kind of says a similar thing to our next route at the moment, that pretty much halfway to Mikatara there are no low clouds. I'm just looking at the low clouds here. Let's see. Medium clouds. Okay, medium clouds, but we're looking at about 15 to 20,000 feet. Extends almost up to Mikatara, but that's not gonna affect us at all. And high clouds, yeah, all the way along, little bits of clouds, but 20,000, it's actually 25,000 feet and above. So the one that I'm worried about on Navigraph is our low clouds, and those actually ending before Mount Magnet. Oh, we're back in the rain. Waypoint is that? Ovlook. Oh cool, I can see that here on Navigraph. Oh, it's got a hold on it. Because this is the edge of the outermost airspace for Perth. Which we're actually in, because it's 4,000 feet. Oh no, that's a different one. This one is... where is it written? Oh, we're not in it. It's flight level 180 to 245. We're not actually inside that. Oh, never mind. Ovlook isn't the one with the hold. That's a different one. Oh, there's a runway or a little airstrip pretty much underneath that waypoint. What's that? Ballydo. I doubt we'd be able to get into that. That's not going to have any instrument approaches. It's just like a little... it might even be a grass strip. It says... oh wow, it doesn't even have any information. Runways, general... longest runway 0 feet. Yeah, no information. It looks like they've got 3 runways, but I think they're just grass strips. It's a tiny little apron as well. Okay, so we are about 4.7 miles off our GPS track. and totally back into the rain. Let's do this. Get our tablet back up and just see, we're 24 degrees now. So we can probably bring that down a little. Okay, the wind and rain are definitely picking up quite a bit, and we're starting to bounce around. 10 degrees outside, so probably no stress for icing. And there's our bit of headwind, bit of crosswind from the right, but when we turn back onto our GPS course, we're facing almost direct headwind. That's why our speed dropped so much when we were on the GPS course. Okay, it's probably almost time to switch our tanks. Let's come down here and check. Endurance is saying 210 and we're saying 150. So we're starting to get a little light on our fuel. I wonder, does this take into account our tip tanks? It does, because it's just kind of basing that on the amount that we filled into the computer when we did so, which would have been, geez, was it the last leg? Did I put in fuel for the last leg? I can't remember. If it didn't, obviously then it was the first leg. And it's just kind of, as far as I know, it's not measuring the fuel in the tanks. You just tell the computer when you fill up with fuel and how much you've put in, and then it's using the fuel flow to calculate how much is left. So it's not actually checking the tanks itself. I mean, these gauges are not super accurate. So yeah, we did enter the amounts we'd put in the tip tanks. So that means our fuel is actually getting quite close, because I wasn't actually going to use the little bit in the tip tank. So if we come down here, we can actually see we're about a quarter on each tip tank, which I'm just going to keep as like an emergency reserve. But our endurance is saying we're only just going to make it. And that's because of that headwind. I mean, we've got 22 knots on the nose. That's pretty rough. So our endurance is saying 2 hours 7 minutes. And yeah, we've got an hour and 53 to go. So we might actually, at this rate, if we keep having a headwind like this, we might actually have to stop at Mount Magnet instead of going all the way to Mikatara. We'll carry on there in the next leg, but otherwise this is going to take quite long. Well, the time is actually not the biggest factor, the fuel is. But for me, 2 hours 6 minutes endurance, and it's going to take us an hour and 54 minutes to get there. So we've got 12 minutes of reserve fuel, according to that, and that's all going to be in these tip tanks, which we don't really want to use all of that extra right down to the bottom. So, at this rate, to be honest, if the weather stays the way it is in terms of wind, I think we're going to be landing at Mount Magnet. Right, everything is looking fine still. Everything's running smoothly. Temperatures are good. It's almost time to switch our fuel tank. We have had the engine running now for almost an hour, 48 minutes, 48 and a half minutes. Okay, let's see while we're here. Mount Magnet has an NDB. That's the one that was on our GPS display as well. That's pretty much the closest station that we have in all directions. Like, wow, I mean, Australia, when you get out into these areas, there really is nothing. Alternate airports is quite a thing to try and find if you're doing this kind of flying across Australia. I mean, there's no VORs. There's a VOR at Perth, There's a one north of that all the way along the coast at Geraldton. And then your next one is, it just says CAR, that's Carnarvon. And then all the way up, but all of those are right on the coast. What's this one? Learmonth. But there is a VOR at Mikitara. That was another reason why I picked that airport. It does have that VOR approach, obviously, so it needs to have a VOR. But maybe we should dial those in. So Mount Magnet's NDB is 395. So we can put that in over here. Like so. Definitely not gonna pick that up at this point. But that'll obviously turn this needle. And then Mikitara's VOR is, oh, it's got an NDB there as well, 251 on the NDB. VOR is 112.9. I already have that programmed in. And probably just because it's the closest thing around. I don't remember doing that on the last flight, but I must have done it at some point. Okay, I think we're going to switch the engines. We're going to switch the fuel tanks. I wonder if we're running the fuel so close. I mean, geez, the wind. This is not even going down. We're still at 153. And our endurance now 2 hours and 3 minutes. So we've lost 3 minutes of endurance and gained 0 time towards our destination. I think what I'm actually going to do is use the fuel in the tip tanks. So we'll run this tank down to 1 dot and then finish off the tip tanks as we are going back into the rain here. But to be honest, I think we're heading for Mount Magnet. That looks like what's going to happen. Oh, our GPS course actually updated, even though we didn't fly directly over that waypoint. We were kind of 6 miles to the right of our track. It's actually updated. Okay, so our next waypoint is Mount Magnet. Look at our ground speed, down to 130. Yeah. So this is showing us the distance to the end, I think. 112.9. We're not going to get... Oh, that's to Mikitara anyway, which will be this distance, I believe. So, if we go menu and we go fields... If we go distance to waypoint, distance to destination. Okay, 245 all the way to Mikitara. It's 150 to the other one, Mount Magnet. Time arrival. No, I want ETE. Estimated time to waypoint. So an hour to Mount Magnet. I think we're going to do that. So that gives us about 50 minutes, maybe a little bit less of reserve fuel. Let's say 45 minutes of reserve fuel, which is a lot more comfortable than, like, I mean, what are we at the moment now? 2 hours endurance, and we've got 7 minutes, 8. Let's call it 7 minutes of reserve fuel. That's not gonna fly. So yeah, I think we're already kind of committing to going to Mount Magnet instead of all the way to Mikitara. We'll go to Mikitara on the next flight. But looking at this and looking at Navigraph, it looks like we're actually going to pop out of the weather just now. What's our temperature looking like? We're still 10 degrees, 5K visibility, still QNH 1013, which is interesting. no precipitation, and our cabin is a little cold. So yeah, not too long and we should be popping out of the weather. We can see the ground again, which we couldn't a few minutes ago. Is it still... There's a little bit of rain on the windshield there, isn't that? You can just see it flickering over there. Yeah, a little bit of rain. This says... Oh, I packed it away. Okay, coming up to 55 minutes engine time. Everything is still in the green. And I was just thinking, obviously because we're using the A2A Comanche, it's got all the failures and wear and tear modeled and stuff like that. If I take this plane all the way from Australia to South Africa, something has to go wrong at some point. Like, there's no ways we can do that much flying without one of those failures kicking in at some point. So mustn't forget that, I mean, even today's takeoff was a little bit risky, but I mean, you can fly this aircraft IFR, so how does that work? I mean, if we had an engine failure on takeoff today, there's no hope, because we couldn't even see the ground. So yeah, we do kind of need to keep that in mind. We mustn't forget that we could have an engine failure in this aircraft on takeoff. And I suppose what I could do is just not publish that video and then no one would know, but that kind of defeats the point. It would be super depressing if we got like all the way into Africa and died somewhere there. That would suck. Still seeing a little bit of... Is that just the textures being weird? But no, there's a little bit of rain on the windshield. Yeah, it's happening there too. Okay, we are kind of heading into this patch. There's a little bit of orange, and then on the other side of that, we're kind of clear again. How much? That's all pretty much it. We're kind of out of the worst of it there. Yeah, at least we didn't actually go through any purple sectors. Right, we still had 129 ground speed. Just over an hour. Yeah, we're going to Mount Magnet. We're not gonna make it to Mikatara at this rate. Right, let's do a compass check again, because we're bang on 1. And here, we're pretty much bang on 1. We could probably just do that. Endurance 1 hour 57. Yeah. Yeah. Mount Magnet it is. Okay, let's hope the weather is still nice and clear once we get there, because, mind you, there's an RNAV arrival. I haven't actually done any RNAVs in this aircraft. Right, and we are pretty much in the middle of nowhere currently. We'll see that NDB we have set for Mount Magnet, so once we get close enough, that should pick up. We're back in the rain again. It is that little orange section. Right, about 5 miles off our course. I'm just gonna keep the heading where it is, and then once we get a bit closer, so keep an eye on this. Once we're a bit closer, I will flip that back to GPS mode. Okay, but it looks like this is going to be our last little patch of rain for quite a bit. I'm going to try and see. I think this whole storm cell is shifting up. I was about to say it looks like it's shifting down, but no, it's because we're flying this way. So it's actually going to be kind of difficult to tell from this map. What we can do is take note of this big kind of water system here. And if we have a look in about 15-20 minutes and see if more of this rain is over the water, then we'll know it's moving in the same direction as us. If it is, though, we're slowly, ever so slightly outrunning it, because we've now left all the red and about to leave the orange behind. Oh, the other thing I was actually going to say is, now that I have that Sofly Animals pack, we should keep an eye out for, like, kangaroos and things in Australia. But yeah, that's going to go great today. Once we do some more VFR stuff, we need to make sure that we spot some kangaroos before we leave Australia. I think that's kind of important, because obviously we're not going to see kangaroos anywhere else. Cows and horses and sheep and things we can spot in other countries, but before we leave Australia, we've got to spot some kangaroos. But we've still got quite a bit of time to do that, so I think we will be fine. Do you get kangaroos all over Australia? I think you kind of do. Don't actually know the answer to that. Okay, let me get the tablet again. I want to see this wind. Oh wow, it's getting worse. Now at 32 knots. 28 knots on the nose. And just tragic ground speed. I mean, look at the difference. Our true airspeed is almost 180 miles an hour. And our true I was not going to say true ground speed. I mean, what on earth is that? True airspeed, we're almost 180, and our ground speed in miles per hour, we're below 150. In knots, we've just dropped to 127. 29 knots on the nose. Hang on. But surely then, this weather system must be moving south, because the wind is 30 knots on our nose. So that should be pushing that whole weather system behind us. So I was wrong then. I don't actually think that it is moving in the same direction as us. Which, as it turns out, it might actually be worse because of that headwind. Okay, should be breaking out of the weather in just a bit. You can see the ground, but yeah, that's going to improve significantly. Not enough to look for kangaroos though. And I wonder, if I flip this into GPS now, is it going to turn us to the left? It is kind of. I don't really want to do that. Let's just keep on that heading. So I'll do it once we get a bit close. I mean, that course needle hasn't even, or the deflection hasn't even changed yet, so we're still quite far from it. I mean, the angle is pretty low. We're not heading straight towards that line, so it's going to take a while before we get back on course. But it's fine. As long as our heading is this side of the needle, so the side that the deflection indicator is on, we're getting closer to the line. Okay, otherwise, everything is still looking good. I still think I'm going to finish off the tip tanks once we switch. We've been flying for, or engine running, for just over an hour now. And I was going to say powering our way to Mount Magnet, but not exactly. Kind of trundling along at 129 knots ground speed. But it is saying now to Mount Magnet we're below an hour's flight time, 57 minutes. So let's see, I think both of our tip tanks have kind of the same. Our left-hand one has a little bit more according to this gauge. So we'll run that one first. Hey, look at that. The clouds are starting to clear a bit. Is that big water system? Oh no, it's a different one. Oh wow, the big one is there. We can just kind of see some of that. That is an enormous lake or whatever that is. What's our deviation like? 4.2 miles. Hey, we're back to 130 ground speed. Endurance 148. It's now less than 10 minutes between our estimated time to Mikitara and our endurance, our fuel endurance. So yeah, we're not risking that. That is not going to work. I mean, if we had to get there and not be able to land for whatever reason, we've got 7 minutes of extra fuel. There's nowhere anywhere near that airport that we could arrive at in less than 7 minutes. In fact, 30 minutes out here is probably cutting it a bit fine. Everything's so far away. So let's see. The next closest airport to Mikitara is Wiluna, which is just a bit less than Mount Magnet, and it's about an hour's difference. Okay, maybe not quite. So what's that? An hour 37, so an hour and a half versus an hour. So it's about half an hour's difference between Mount Magnet and Mikitara. Okay, so you could make Wiluna in less than half an hour. So maybe, yeah, I'd still say I'd probably want to have about an hour's worth of reserve fuel, because that gives you half an hour to get to another airport, literally the next closest airport, with half an hour's reserve when you land. I mean, assuming you went straight to that airport and landed first time. But that does make your alternates kind of limiting out here. Right, so for Mount Magnet, we have runway 16 and 34. I think we're going to be doing, well, yeah, we'll be doing runway 34. If the wind is the same out there. Runway length 5,900 feet, 1,798 meters, plenty of runway. And we do have charts for an on-over arrival. Oh, there's an NDV arrival as well. Or NDV approach. Not for... Which runway is this? It looks like it's for runway... I don't think this is for a specific runway. This just kind of gets you to the airport. That's interesting. And then we've got an RNAV for 3-4, which I think I'm actually going to come in here at this point and change this. If we go back here and go to flight plan, I'm actually going to... How do I suppose I can remove that and add YMOG. So YMOG G. That's better. Right. No, it's not arrival, it's approach. And we're doing RNAV for runway 34. I need to change that to SJ. How do I do that? Here, SJ, because we're coming from that side. In fact, we're coming more straight in, so we should do G like that, and we can load that up. Now, this is one thing I don't quite understand, is it always puts this after the airport. Because, I mean, technically, I've got 110 miles to go. Technically, we should be going to this already. I think we should just do that. There we go. We might as well quickly go back onto GPS course. Is it actually going to work? No, because we missed it a little bit. Oops. So now we want 026. So that's about there. Let's start heading to here. Smack that into heading mode. Get onto an intercept. $43 Okay, and now we should be able to do that. Right. Okay, we are back in the clouds. Oh, back in the rain, actually, for a little bit. Yeah, we're just in that kind of green patch. Okay, we're on the GPS track now with about 40 minutes to go. That 40 minutes is going to be to the beginning of our RNAV procedure for runway 34. About 47 minutes to the actual airport. Right, so now that we kind of made our decisions, we are on track for our new destination of Mount Magnet, which was always part of our route anyway. But now it's just a case of cruising on for another half an hour or so. So I'm going to do a bit of a time lapse, I think, so I can go get something to drink. And then we'll have start having a look at making our way into Mount Magnet. So we'll have a time lapse because it's going to be kind of pretty going through the clouds, and we should be transitioning out of the weather. And I'll chat to you again when it's time to prep. Right, so we're about 11 and a half minutes to go before we reach the first waypoint of the approach, and we need to be at 3,000 feet at that waypoint. So if we descend at 1,000 feet per minute, that means we'd need about 6 minutes to get to that 3,000 feet. So let's check our compass alignment. So we are on, what's that, 2, and here we are not on 2. Now we are on 2. Cool. Then during the time lapse I also switched over to the left tip tank, ran that completely dry. The right tip tank is about to go dry as well, and so I'm gonna leave it on that tank until it actually runs out, and then I'll flip over. Once we get on like into the pattern, or actually it'll be final because we're going straight in, I'll switch over to the main tank so we don't run out as we're coming up to the runway. There's an airstrip underneath us, which is actually not on the Navigraph database, which is interesting. So we've got about 10 minutes to go. So I reckon we can disengage the altitude hold and start our descent. There's one little patch of rain over here, which is quite funny. Yeah, this looks like some sort of mining operation. It's definitely a mining operation with their own private airstrip. Okay, might as well turn on the landing lights while we're here. I wonder, little kind of streaks of rain just in front of us and to our left here. Wonder if any of that's over the airport. I can't actually see the airport just yet, but we're still kind of far out. Our NDB is now alive as well, so we have an indicator for that. Okay, so now 6.5 minutes out. There's a little bit of rain. Oh, there's our tip tank going. Right. A couple of patches of rain indicated on the next rad, but nothing serious. The visibility is good, so we will be fine getting into Mount Magnet. I don't know why it's called Mount Magnet. There's no mountain here that I can see. It's pretty much 100% flat in all directions. Okay, so we're going to stay at 3,000 feet and then basically just go visual once we can see the runway pretty much. Our minimums are 1,620 feet. And then we should be, what's our ground speed? 152. We'll be slower than that, so we'll probably plan for about 100, or even slower than that, 90, 478 feet per minute descent rate. But with this weather, we'll be able to do that all visually, so not too stressed about that. Right, so both of our tip tanks are now completely empty, and we're running on our right-hand tank, which both of our main tanks were 1 dot, so what's that, like 7.5 gallons? We should be able to see the runway soon over on that side, and we're at 5,200 feet now. Once we turn, so when we get to that waypoint, we're obviously going to turn to the left. At that point, I'm going to have to start slowing down as well. About 3.5 minutes to that initial waypoint. I'm just coming through 4,700 feet. I mean, there is nothing out here. It's actually quite amazing. Right, I wonder what the temperature is down here, because we can probably ditch the heater. Definitely need to ditch the heater since we're at 40 degrees. Okay, that'll sort that out. It is a bit loud though. Well, not too loud, but it is louder than it was. Okay, 4,200 feet coming through now. So the airport is just out there. We're still a good few miles away from it, so it's still 8 minutes of flying to get to the actual airport. I'm about 1.5 minutes out from that initial point there. Okay, so we should start our turn now. We don't really need to do this whole procedure, do we? Okay. I'm I'm gonna take control. Because I'm not really sure where the autopilot wants to take us here. Okay, and then we're gonna go mixture and props full. And also start slowing down. Get the fuel pump on. Looks like we need to pop a bit of carb heat in there. Right, I still don't actually see the runway. It should be pretty much straight ahead. Is that it there? Or is it even further? I think it might even be further along. We're still 7 minutes out. We're inside the wide arc. We're getting our flaps out, so that's cool. Once we get a bit closer, we can do that. I mean, it's interesting that they have you at 3,000 feet all the way out here. I mean, we've still got another probably 5 miles to go where they want us at 3,000 feet. Okay, just to kind of keep things balanced, I'm going to switch tanks again. Okay, that is the runway, I reckon. Let's go flaps one. Runway looks pretty narrow. Oh, that's because that's not the runway, that is. That's just a road. I was gonna say, because it's still about another 2 miles before the RNAV approach has us starting to descend from 3,000. I was going to say, if that's the runway, we're starting our descent very close. But no, now I can see the actual runway. A beautiful morning here in Australia. Weather's a little bit better here at Mount Magnet than it was near Perth, where we departed from this morning. So yeah, from this waypoint, that's where we start to kind of descend on the glide path for runway 34. So let's go gear down. Okay, landing lights on, fuel pumps on. Prop and mixture full forward. Gears down, flaps, we still have a few notches to do. Otherwise, we are good to go. Feels like it's a little bit gusty out there, but nothing too ridiculous. Probably fairly similar to what we dealt with on takeoff. Maybe even less windy. We're still fairly high up, so we'll see. Okay, let's get the next stage of flaps, and flaps full for landing. Interesting bend in the road up ahead. Wonder if that little dark patch up ahead is the mountain. Just trying to keep everything nice and smooth. It is a little windy out there. All right, welcome to Mount Magnet. Right, we're going to turn around here. I can get the flaps up so long, because we actually need to turn and just backtrack a bit to the apron, which is now behind us. Right, but there we are, arrived at Mount Magnet. Nothing particularly special, just a small little airport, but very cool. And look at the weather out that way. I think, yeah, I still need to check and see. I now suspect that the weather is actually moving away from us. Okay, fuel pump we can turn off, landing lights and strobes. Pitot heat can also come off. And I can also start switching off radios and things while we taxi in. So we aren't going to need any of that anymore, so we can actually do avionics off completely. Right, are we going to get run over by a fuel truck? Hopefully not. We're definitely going to need fuel, which is nice and easy because it's right there. So we'll just kind of park up here on the apron and shut down. Set the parking brake. Beacon can stay on. This we can turn to off. We might as well close these guys. Unplug our headphones. And then autopilot switch can come off. That's all cool. And master switch off. All right, but there we are, safely arrived at Mount Magnet. It wasn't actually our first choice of destination for today, but that just means in the next episode, we will be heading from here up to the airport at Mikatara, which is a shorter route. So we might actually do that and another short leg, because otherwise I think that's about half an hour's flight. But some pretty interesting weather, fully IFR, maybe a little bit illegal IFR departure from Gingin just north of Perth and up to here at Mount Magnet. And that is going to bring us to the end of this leg of our series where we try to get this A2A Comanche all the way from here in Australia over to South Africa. If you did enjoy the video, if you want to keep up with the series and see if I can actually make it all the way to South Africa without crashing or without suffering some sort of failure that's modeled in the A2A Comanche systems that we can't recover from. Hopefully we can get all the way to South Africa. I mean, if we do have an engine failure or something, if we can land safely, we can then have the aircraft fixed and continue. But it's going to be quite a challenge to go all that way without something going wrong. So that is going to be a very, very long project. But anyway, if you made it all the way to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you do want to follow, you know what to do down below. And I'll see you in the next video.